Good morning, one and all, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. This press conference is called to present an update on the implementation of the public sector compensation system. We'd like to welcome and acknowledge Financial Secretary, Ms. Darlene Morrison, CD, Mr. Wayne Jones, Deputy Financial Secretary, Strategic Human Resource Management Division, and of course, the Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable Nigel Clark. This is going to be nice and spicy and short, so I'm just going to go ahead and introduce the Minister to address us. Minister?
Thank you very much, Shelley, and thanks to your team for coordinating this press conference on short notice. Thanks to the media who are present in person and those who are online for organizing to be here on such short notice. Calling a press conference at this time right before Christmas is always a dicey thing because people have made their commitments long in advance. So I want to really thank you for attending. This press conference is called to provide an update on the implementation of the new compensation system. For a very long time, it has been recognized that the compensation system in Jamaica has not been able to, for the public sector, to attract and retain the talent that we need to run the modern bureaucracy that we have in Jamaica. In addition, the compensation system is, as it exists, hopelessly complex with over 325 scales and 185 allowances. It is simply, it has many points of inequities within ministries, departments, and agencies, both horizontally and vertically. And it is, frankly, an unsustainable system. Several years ago, or 4 years ago, we embarked on a review of the compensation system, which has informed the new compensation system that consists of a core spine of 16 pay scales that we are now implementing for the first time in December. The implementation timeline has been compressed by the fact that we signed off with unions in the middle of November, between the middle and end of November, and had essentially between 14 and 21 days for the implementation. And that compressed timeline was always going to be a challenge. But due to our desire to have persons in receipt of the new compensation as quickly as possible, and the desire of the unions to ensure that members of the public service had it in time for Christmas, the persons who are attached to the transformation implementation unit and payroll officers across the length and breadth of the public system in ministries and departments and agencies have been working long hours, weekends, into the night, over the past 2 to 3 weeks to put us in a place where we can implement this new system, which has a number of significant improvements. The process would have involved training of some of these payroll officers by the Transformation Implementation Unit, I think 2 weekends ago or thereabouts, 2 or 3 weekends ago. And the process of implementation, for the month of December, the pay slip or the paycheck will consist of the new December pay, i.e. the new monthly pay under the new system for the month of December, as well as arrears to give the effect that the new compensation system is in effect from April 1st of 2022. Let me see if I can say it, let me say it again. So the paycheck in December will consist of the new pay for December and the arrears due to the employee, and those arrears are due from the fact that we are implementing the system as at April 1st, 2022. If we are implementing the system as at December, there will be no arrears, and in fact, there will be no issues. We would just go forward with the new pay. And just to be clear, as far as I've been able to determine, there's no issue at all with what the new pay is. It's very straightforward to go from where you are in the old system to where you are in the new system. Where we have had challenges and where the training has really been required is in how you calculate the arrears that are owed, having agreed to have the new system be implemented with an effective date of April 1st of 2022. So the process for this payment to be made is one where the payroll officers, and bear in mind that the Ministry of Finance controls the transfer of the funds, but the calculation of pay is distributed across ministries, departments, and agencies, each of which has their own payroll department. So the payroll officer in the ministry, department, and agencies, and it should be clear we're speaking about the central government where the unions have signed the MOU with the government. The ministry, department, and agency, or the payroll department, would calculates the arrears that are due for each employee and calculates those in accordance with the instructions provided by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. Those calculations are sent to the Transformation Implementation Unit, which is a project of the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, set up specifically for this purpose of the transformation of the compensation system. The TIU, the abbreviation, does the quality controls on the calculations submitted by the respective payroll departments in ministries, departments, and agencies. And that process of submission of payroll files and quality control on the calculations has been ongoing for the past week. And it would have intensified towards the end of last week and into the weekend, with payroll officers in ministries, departments, and agencies working until late at night, and people at the Transformation Implementation Unit, some of them not getting sleep. During that process of quality control, if there were errors found or aberrations, the files will be sent back to the ministry, department, and agencies. And once the TIU is satisfied with the payment calculation submitted by the particular payroll department in the particular ministry, department, and agency, then the file is passed over to the accountant general, and the accountant general pays the funds over to the respective financial institutions. Now, there are 52 ministries, departments, and agencies that fall under the central government payroll. And as at now, we have, let's set my glasses on. As at now, of the 52 ministries, departments, and agencies, we have 46 of those ministries, departments, and agencies where clearance has been given by the Transformation Implementation Unit for the Accountant General to disburse funds to the respective financial institutions. So let me repeat it again. Of the 52 ministries, departments, and agencies that are on the central government system, we have 46 of them where they've passed through the quality control process, and the transformation implementation unit has given the approval for the accountant general to go ahead and make payments. For 6 ministries, departments, and agencies, or 6 MDAs as we like to call it, and can you give me a second here? Okay, let me just repeat that and just update and just correct some information I saw here. It's 47. Let me repeat that. Of the 52 ministries and departments and agencies, and these 52 would be listed as heads in that big yellow budget document that you see, right? All of the heads starting with Accountant General's Department, going all the way down to TAJ in alphabetical order. Of those 52 ministries, departments, and agencies, 47 have been cleared for payment by the Transformation Implementation Unit, and that payment is to be executed by, well, has been in most of those cases executed by the Accountant General's Department. There are 5 entities where the quality, 5 out of the 52, where the quality control procedures are still underway as we speak. But it's my expectation that by 1 p.m. today, that 5 could be reduced to 0. I would have to provide you the further update at 1 o'clock to confirm that that is the case, but that is my expectation as at now. So if that expectation is met, well, let me not speak prospectively. So that's where we are as at 11:44 today, this morning. So I hope that provides, and if you want, I could list all of the departments and agencies where where the Accountant General has already or has already processed payment, and remember, has already disbursed. I remember that, you know, the Accountant General disburses, but the financial institution has to credit the employee's account. Okay, so I'm giving you what the ministry is in control of. So of the 52 entities where we have Transformation Implementation Unit has cleared for payment, the 47 that have been cleared are as follows: the Accountant General's Department, the Administrator General's Department, the Attorney General's Chambers, the Auditor General's Department, the Child Development Agency, the Department of Correctional Services, the Director of Public Prosecution, the Forestry Department, the Government Chemist, the staff of the Governor General's Office, INDICOM, the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine, the Integrity Commission, the Jamaica Information Service, the Judiciary, the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Industry, Investments and Commerce, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, the Ministry of Local Government, the Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology, the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Transport and Mining, MOCA, the Northeast Regional Health Authority, the Southeast Regional Health Authority, the National Environmental and Planning Agency, the National Land Agency, the National Works Agency, Office of the Cabinet, Office of the Children's Advocate, Office of the Prime Minister, Office of the Public Defender, Office of the Services Commission, PICA, the Police Department, Post and Telecommunications Department, the Registrar General's Department, and Tax Administration Jamaica. That's 47 MDAs where the implementation is underway, okay, in 47 of the 52. The Transformation Implementation Unit is still working on the remaining 5, And my expectation is that with the cooperation of these entities, by 1 o'clock today, they will also be cleared. And so the issues that have been reported on, the expectation is that they'll be resolved today. There is one exception in one particular ministry that I will, where approximately, because they use a payroll, we have 13 payroll systems across the government, and we really should have one enterprise software system that has full functionality and capability. The government is engaged in a transformation process to update, upgrade, replace the other 12 software systems, payroll systems, with My HR Plus, which has incredible functionality and is a system that can take us forward. In one particular MDA out of the 52, which but only affects 183 employees, their particular payroll system is unable to process the arrears calculations. Sounds strange, but it's a reality. And that system would need an amendment for that payroll system. And so the decision has been made, and the employees in that MDA have been notified and have indicated their understanding and agreement that rather than proceed in a way that is rather than work with a system that's unable to process the arrears payments, for those 183, the December payment will be made and today, and the arrears payment will follow. But it's 183 out of 60,000, just for full information. So just to be clear as well, after the accountant general disburses, then the bank has to to credit their account. So as at yesterday, we had 42 out of the 52 where the implementation has begun. As at 11 o'clock today, we're up to 47 out of the 52. And by 1 o'clock, we expect the implementation to be in force for all 52 out of the 52, with the caveat that I mentioned earlier for 183 persons out of the 60,000. And we'd expect the banks to work expeditiously to ensure that those payments are reflected. I'll now open for any questions, if there are any.
Minister, and your team. First of all, Minister, could you just name the 5 MDAs that have not yet been cleared? And the one in particular that you mentioned, the 183 employees who are having special situations. Could you also single out that one for us?
Okay.
Thank you.
So on the last question first, because I'd prefer the minister, because as I said to you, the Ministry of Finance is not singularly responsible for the entire payroll system. Payroll system is splintered, and each ministry, department, and agency is responsible for their employees. And therefore, just recognizing that ministerial boundary, I would prefer if that minister would have the opportunity. I don't want to speak for that. Please respect that, but if you'd just respect that. In terms of the 5 MDAs where we are still processing as at 11:50 today, and which I expect by 1 o'clock to have the processing complete. So I would ask you not to. We're giving you full information, but I ask you to use it responsibly, because as at 5 o'clock today, these 5 would not still be in the same position, right? But as at 11:44 today, the 5 that the Transformation Implementation Unit are still working on include the Bellevue Hospital, the Houses of Parliament, the administrative staff of the Ministry of Education, And then we have the Southern Regional Health Authority and the Western Regional Health Authority. Okay, those 5. Both the Northeast Regional and the Southeast Regional have been cleared. So those are the 5. Let me mention them again. The Bellevue Hospital, the Houses of Parliament, the Ministry of Education, the administrative staff, so this is not about teachers, the Southern Regional Health Authority, and the Western Regional Health Authority. I expect to get an update at 1 o'clock, and my expectation is that by then these 5 would be cleared, but I'd be able to confirm at that time.
We heard from the nurses and the doctors, and they're indicating that they have not yet been paid. I think the nurses in one instance have given an ultimatum that by midday today they're expecting to see their salaries. Can you speak specifically to those 2 for us, kindly? Thank you.
Okay, I have a further this is fortnightly. This is not monthly. Yeah, let me just say that the nurses of Jamaica perform an incredible function, and it has really been a pleasure working with the Nurses Association of Jamaica on this compensation restructuring. And they have every expectation, they have every reason to expect that both their December pay and their arrears are received on time. And to the extent that they have not been, that is something that we definitely regret, and something that we're working assiduously and feverishly to resolve. We're happy that the delay, is not significant. It should have been yesterday, but we're expecting it to happen today. Right? So I do not expect that at 5 o'clock this evening we'll be in the same position that we were at 5 o'clock yesterday.
Please. So I just want to be clear in my mind. You're suggesting, then, Minister, that the entire process that you've explained in terms of the clearance of the MDAs that have not yet been cleared, in addition to the ones who have already been cleared, when you put everything together, you're saying that the process from the clearance to the Administrator General's department and the payments, and you also mentioned the banks themselves clearing up the issue so that they can send out to individuals' bank accounts. From your experience, from the Ministry's experience, could you assure the public sector workers that at least by the latest tomorrow afternoon that they would receive their salaries when you take into consideration the entire process?
So the information that we're providing is that as at now, 47 of the 52 entities, the Accountants General has transferred the funds. We are also providing what our expectation is, that by 1 o'clock today, for the other 5, the Accountant General would have the clearance to transfer the funds. And that is the responsibility of the Accountant General's Department and the payroll officers and the Ministry of Finance. So we would be, for those entities, would experience a delay of a day in the transfer of the funds from the Accountant General's Department. Now, a delay of a day in the transfer of the funds from the Accountant General's Department is not an experience that is unusual. We are holding this press conference today only because of the circumstances in which this delay of a day is happening. It's not an ordinary payday. It's a payday that includes the arrears for an entirely new compensation system, a transformation of which we don't have a historical precedent. So it's in that context that we're providing an update. But I would hope that you and your colleagues fully recognize that a delay of a day for 5 or 8 of the, whatever the number is, out of 52, a delay of a day is not an unusual experience. For whatever reason, that has happened and does happen from time to time. It's never a crisis. But we're having this conference today because of the significance of what we are undertaking and implementing, and the length of time that it has taken us to get to this position, right? We've been working on this for a long time. And so I think it warrants this occasion of providing fully, transparently, openly to the media and to the public through the media this update. But it should not, I would hope that with this openness and transparency, it does not, fuel the sense that there is some crisis. We're talking about a delay of a day for, at this case, for 5 out of the 52 MDAs.
So just to be clear, Minister, you are saying that you feel comfortable that by the latest tomorrow, that all public sector workers should have a happy holiday or enter into a happy holiday with.
No, you're trying to give me responsibility that I don't have. My responsibility is to pay. Our responsibility, the public services responsibility, is to pay out the funds, and that's what we do every single month. And for this month, we have paid a certain. We paid 42 out of 52 yesterday. And my expectation is that we'll pay the further 10 out of 52 today, a delay of 24 hours. And that's where our responsibility is, the payout of the funds from the Accountant General's Department. And if I may just say something that should be obvious, right? One of the it is what it is. We've decided to implement in December. If we had to implement it in another month, remember that the usual payday is the 25th. We bring the payday up in December because of the time of year that it is. So that should be taken into account. So not only have we brought it forward, but we're implementing a completely new compensation system, which we have never done across the public sector before in our 60 years of independence.
Yes, Minister. Alexander Scott, Nationwide News. 2 questions, sir. The first one relates to the arrears, and the question is the miscalculation or the inability to calculate. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that phrase there. Is that born out of a technical difficulty, as in software, computers, or is this a staff problem, a training problem, not understanding how to do those calculations? Just wanted some clarification on that. And the second point, kind of piggybacking on your previous statement about having this done now, the compensation review package and the payout. Why the, for want of a better word, I don't want to say rush, the hurry to have the union sign off on this at this moment now? Would it not have been better, simply from a training standpoint, to have it done later on, say January, February, something like that? Yeah,
okay.
Those are the questions.
Thank you. So as I mentioned earlier, the challenges that have been experienced are challenges in the calculation of the arrears. The new salary, where each person falls on the new salary 16-band scale, is quite clear. The challenge with the arrears is a reflection of the complexity of the system we have today, where we have 325 pay scales and 185 allowances that we are taking and transforming into a system with 16 pay scales in the core, okay? And, significantly less allowances. And we are doing it, just to answer your question, the core of the issue is the compressed time frame of implementation. We signed the earliest agreement in the middle of November, and we signed until the end of November. And for pay to go out on the 20th and the 21st, usually that would mean that by the 14th, pay files have been sent. So within that 2-week period, you couldn't train until you have agreed, because you're implementing what you have agreed. And until you've agreed it, you can't train. So during that 2-week period, not only had we to go to Parliament and get a second supplementary budget, right, and that entire process, and a number of steps, and also engage the payroll officers in ministries, departments, and agencies with the training about how to calculate the arrears. It is definitely the case that had we, together with the unions, decided to pay their arrears in January, much of this would have been avoided, because we'd have had more time with the training of officers and the communication with persons and explaining how arrears are calculated and so on. That's definitely the case. It was a request of the unions who signed that we make every effort to pay in December. It was a desire of members that we pay in December. And as faithful stewards and as public servants, that's what we are, we did our best to accommodate this desire. And I hope that in doing our best to accommodate a desire which from the outset we had indicated, due to the compressed timeline, would be challenging, I hope that that's understood within its context. Had we, just to repeat, had we decided to do the arrears, to pay the arrears in January, there would be none of this would have arisen. Yeah? So it's an issue of time. It's not an issue of people or systems. It's just time. We have people who have not slept. And I want to give if I may, use this medium to give a shout out to the persons employed in the payroll departments across all 52 ministries, departments, and agencies, and all the persons who work at the Transformation Implementation Unit, many of whom have not gotten any sleep as they've worked on this implementation. And it's important that we recognize their service and their contribution, notwithstanding the challenges that we acknowledge that are real.
All right, Althea Sumner from the Jamaica Observer. I have two questions. What is the timeline for replacing those 13 payroll systems with one system? And the other question is based on some complaints that we had, especially yesterday, to our newsroom. Persons were saying that they were seeing massive deductions. And just to provide clarity, because I understand a lot of employees may be confused, if you could just explain what those deductions might be.
Thank you for the question on the payroll system. We've been trying to get media attention on what we're doing there and the necessity of doing it that this exercise sort of has brought to light. We're engaged in an exercise that I think it's going to take another 2 years, I believe that's the time frame, to change the 13 payroll systems that exist throughout the public service, to upgrade them to the MyHR Plus, which is, as I said, a full enterprise human resource software system that has very international best practice functionality, and that will allow much greater customer experience for the public sector employee. We have rolled out to a number of MDAs so far, But with the staggering number left, we have another sort of 2 years on that rollout exercise. But it is an incredibly important initiative, and one that we hope we can get your support in highlighting. Yes, with respect to the calculations, the December paycheck, as I mentioned, is going to look complicated. And there's no way of avoiding that, because we have to report to the employee how what they receive is calculated. So there'll be a lot of numbers on it. Now, I want to, if I can explain by virtue of an analogy some of what is being experienced. If I say to someone that your compensation today is $60 of salary, $40 of allowances, let's just make a simple example, for a total compensation of $100. And I say the new compensation is $120 of salary. And I ask, if the old was 60 plus 40, 100, the new is 120, and we want to implement it effective from the beginning, and you've already received the 60 and the 40, how much should we add or give that would make your total compensation equal to the new compensation? I mean, everybody to a person says 20, because it's fairly obvious. Now, expressing that on a payroll or on a pay slip requires you to put 120 minus 60 minus 40 gives you 20. But when you put the minus 60 and the minus 40, those are big numbers. You don't see those numbers on your paycheck normally. You see a minus 60 and a minus 40. And just a very simple example, that has caused some amount of, that has led to queries, which is normal and natural, because your paycheck, which you received every month for the last 15 years, the last 20 years, the last 5 years, has not looked like that. So we have established a hotline at the Transformation Implementation Unit for those who have queries to transmit those queries. And we're also putting out a video that allows the employee to see what the numbers on their payslip represent, and for them to have an understanding. But going forward, the payslips will be not only simpler than December, but much simpler than they were under the old system. So the process, this kind of change, which is monumental, and we're talking about doing this across the system at one time. By definition, the complexity of it will lead to queries. And the important thing is that we put ourselves in a position where we can respond to those queries.
I believe among the 47 that have been cleared. I've been told that they will not be getting their arrears until January. Can you confirm that? And if that is the case, why is this so?
Okay, so when you say ministry, let's be very clear what
Local
we mean.
government.
Yeah, let me be clear what we mean there. We mean the monthly paid staff in the ministry, which number 183 persons. That's the 183. Okay, so we're talking about 183 persons. They've all been informed directly by their permanent secretary, and my understanding is they understand and would rather be paid in January and get what is due to them than to use a payroll system that in there, as I said, they are the only ministry that has that payroll system installed. And I don't want to name the payroll system because the providers are local, but that payroll system is unable to process the calculations. And that ministry has taken, in my view, a decision I respect. That's not a decision that the Ministry of Finance takes. I want you to understand that payroll is decentralized. That's very, very important that that's understood. We control the policy. Okay? The Ministry of Finance controls the policy, but the implementation is decentralized throughout the public system. And so the decision was made there and communicated to the 183 staff before this press conference. And I support that decision. I think it's a wise decision. And it just shows why we need to upgrade the payroll system, right? And why we control the policy, the implementation is decentralized, but we have to make sure that, the Ministry of Finance is spearheading the implementation of an upgrade to the payroll system so that we don't have these kinds of problems in the future.
One more question on my end, Minister. I believe the air traffic controllers, they had a meeting with the Labour Ministry yesterday. They were hoping to have a meeting with the Finance Ministry, your ministry as well. Not sure if that meeting took place, and if so, if you have any updates on that.
Yes, as you can, I'm glad when you come down to the ministry because you can see people in flesh and blood. The same people who are dealing with all the issues that we have spoken about over the last hour are the same people who have to, Mr. Jones, who is the Deputy Financial Secretary, who has to meet with the air traffic controllers and all 140 public bodies. So, we want to get your support in the media for what we're doing in terms of reform that simplifies the structure of government. In 2016, we had 190 public bodies. We're down to 140, but still far too many to make it, for us to be the agile and efficient Jamaica we want to be, because you have, a single team. Suffice that to say that we've confirmed a meeting with them for this Friday, I believe. Right, and my understanding is that the issue at Airtel yesterday, the issue at Ministry of Labour last week was not air traffic controllers issue. It was an issue concerning Airtel. Yeah.
Minister, we have just under 200 persons joining us on YouTube and Facebook. So there are some questions online. I think would you be able to facilitate a few of them?
Sure.
All right. Repeatedly, I've seen different persons asking about Fortnite,
right,
wondering what's the position for them. Can they
fortnightly
expect to be paid?
Yes.
And if so, when?
I'm glad that you mentioned that. So we're invited you here because, sound bites don't cut it. This is, so far we've been speaking about monthly paid staff, and monthly paid staff, the due date was yesterday. And for monthly paid staff, 42 out of the 52 entities, the payments would have been sent off by the Accountant General's Department. I've just given an update that as at today, as at half an hour ago, 47 of the 52 have been approved for the Accountant General to disburse to the financial institutions, and I expect that later today we'll have clearance for all 52. For fortnightly paid staff, the due date is today. Okay, so it's not yesterday. The due date is today, and the information that I have that as at 11:44 today, there are a total of 40 MDAs with fortnightly paid staff, and of that 40, funds would have been sent to financial institutions for allow me to, I'll give you sort of break it down, have been sent to 16 of those yesterday. No, today's the 21st, so it's not 16. So I'm looking at the 19th and 20th, 16 and 11, 27. Okay, of the 40, you remember the pay is due today. Is to be sent out today. Of the 40, 27 were sent yesterday. No, 27 were sent yesterday and the day before. 3 have been sent this morning. That gives us 30. 4 are now being sent, i.e. they've been cleared to be sent. Where am I? That's 34. And I have 3 where clearance has not yet been provided by TIU, but again, I expect that clearance to be provided later today. So we are now we expect to have significantly less delays with the fortnightly staff. I hope that's understood. What I've just said, I hope that's understood. Okay? So for the fortnightly staff, unlike with the monthly, we've had, many more that have been transferred prior to the due date, and the remainder being transferred today on the due date. I can provide an update later if any of that changes.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'm just scanning through and I realized some similarities to some of the questions. So I'm just going to ask a broad question to cover some of those. They were, especially for the persons who are just joining us, are asking about the traveling allowances, or were they recovered since the payments were started? So they wanted some more details about that.
Okay. So we have a number of different kinds of allowances. We have allowances, in the old system, allowances that were non-taxable, allowances that were taxable, and allowances have been treated similarly, that in calculating what is due in order for the total compensation for the 9 months to December to be equivalent to what the 9 months of compensation would be if the new system were implemented at April 1st of 2022, we have to take account of all payments that employees have received, whether those payments were in the form of salary, or in the form of taxable allowances, or in the form of non-taxable allowances. Right, so, I have previously alluded to the fact that in these conversions, without a guaranteed minimum floor, it would have been possible that you could have ended up with negative arrears. And it was in that context that I said negative arrears basically means the employee would have to take money out and give back. And what we said that in the negative arrears we would never allow to happen. And in the case of negative arrears, the guaranteed minimum would kick in to change the negative arrears from negative to positive, so that everyone would receive something positive. I hope that has answered the question. And it's a very specific question for persons who are traveling officers, and I know and I appreciate some of the concerns of that group particularly. And a general forum may not be the best place to address the concerns of that particular group, but I hope I have provided an answer that's satisfactory. Let's just be clear, the Auditor General would require that if we have an agreement to pay a new compensation as at April 1st, that we take account of all payments that are received. So you have a problem with the Auditor General. You could not agree that a new compensation system is payable effective April 1 and then ignore what people have already been paid. That would give taxpayers a raw deal, right? And it would be completely unaffordable.
All right. Thank you so much, Minister. It appears that the time has moved very, very quickly. I think we can wrap up. Are we good? All right. So I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to the media. Thank you for being here this morning. I'm sure we have lots to ponder. And
So if I may just say, just a final, I just wanted
Sure.
to leave with a final word. So there is a natural proclivity, a natural tendency, which is normal and human, for there to be focus on where there are challenges and problems, and that's normal and natural. I think it's important to at least acknowledge that the implementation of the new compensation system that we have wanted for so long, that we've worked on for so long together with our partners in the union, is underway, and we fully expect for month-to-paid staff who were due compensation yesterday, fully expect that the transformation implementation unit by the end of today would have provided the clearance for the accountant general to pay amounts out. And that would represent a delay of 24 hours for 10 of the 52 ministries, departments, and agencies. With respect to the fortnightly paid staff, we are on track. We are not. The scorecard is much better, in that the vast majority, the clearance for payment has happened in advance of the due date, and the remainder we expect to happen on the due date itself. I hope that members of the media have received some degree of clarity on the implementation of the new compensation system. And as we move forward to January, wherein we'll have this new pay going on, I should mention for the traveling officers that they have other payments that they will receive in January, and they should not forget that. They have there's a one-off payment for traveling officers in January, as well as a top-up on the guaranteed minimum that's paid in January as well. So traveling officers have that to look forward to in January as well. Okay, and that was the agreement long ago. So thank you, members of the media and members of the public, for tuning in.